Hey guys, welcome back to Sacred Vedic Astrology. My name is Samantha and I feel so blessed to be a professional Vedic sidereal astrologer. So today is a really important day energetically, and in Chinese astrology, there's so much going on energetically today, so I felt like I had to come on here, record a video, talk a little bit about the energy, and then we're actually going to do a really fun chart analysis video into how we can see Lana Del Rey's husband in her Vedic sidereal astrological chart. I thought it'd be perfect because she just released this really fun, witchy, sort of fairy tale-esque song about him, and he shows up in her chart. Of course, we're going to get into that analysis in the second portion of the video, but I thought I would do a little energy update for today, just really quick, so we can talk about the energy and what's happening and what's shifting. So the first thing that's really important to note is it is the Chinese New Year astrologically, right? You know how when we start a new year and it hits January 1st, we never actually feel like it's a new year. It always feels weird. It always feels liminal. It always feels stagnant still for about January going into like early February. At least if you're in tune with energy, you know that, like you feel that, right? Like I feel that, everyone I know always feels that. And the reason is because the new year doesn't actually start in Chinese astrology until today. So we basically shift out of one energy, one sign astrologically, and then move into the next one. So 2025 was the year of the snake energy, which was all about clearing and shedding and letting go. And the snake energy was a lot more of this like introspective sort of energy, right? More quiet, more reflective, more internal. So if you spent a lot of 2025 clearing out the old, changing some patterns in your life, perhaps leaving things, leaving friendships or relationships or jobs or things that did not serve you, that was the snake energy at play. It was a very interesting year. For me personally, I did not love the snake energy because it felt very like this, like very like withdrawn and all about letting go. And I'm like, I have a Venus-Mars conjunction. Let's go. You know what I mean? Let's go. Let's be passionate. Let's be excited. And so I'm really excited going into the horse year because it's all about that momentum. It's all about that forward movement, right? It's more excitable, pushing into the new sort of energy. And in numerology, we're also leaving a 9-year and coming into a 1-year, which aligns perfectly with the Chinese astrology. So what's interesting about different systems is they always connect, they always align, right? Like we have Chinese astrology, we have numerology, we have different forms of numerology. So we have the numerology that comes from, I think it's the Pythagorean system of numerology, and then we have, I believe it's Chaldean numerology. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a professional numerologist, but I studied numerology my whole life, and I've talked with a lot of different numerologists. But there's two different systems of numerology similarly to astrology. So there's like the Western version of numerology, which comes from the Greek times. And then there's the other form, which is more so connected to ancient Eastern practice as well too. There's all these different forms of analysis, but they always are cohesive and similar, right? So in numerology, 2025 was a 9-year, which was all about endings and leaving the old behind, closing chapters, healing. I saw 2025 as a very healing year, like a very closing out one door, ready to open a new one in 2026. So all the systems are interconnected in that way. We can come to similar conclusions, similar answers from all the systems. So in numerology, at least the Western sort of version, we're now in a 1-year, which is also about new beginnings, forward movement, pushing forward, starting new, starting fresh. And I think it's going to be a really potent and powerful year. I don't think it's going to be stagnant. I don't think it's going to be boring. It's not going to be boring with the horse energy and the one energy. It's really all about starting things, putting things into motion. And what I've seen is a lot of people who've done some good work in 2025. I've seen in my own life a lot of the work that I put in, and a lot of other people, we're starting to see that momentum as we come into the 1 year and the energy of the horse. So it's all about pushing forward momentum. Think of a horse, right? It's like galloping through. And something to note, I think, with the one energy and the horse energy, though, is we might get very overly zealous this year. Like, we might have so much we want to do, so much we want to accomplish, so much we want to put out there into the world, that there can be a little scattered energy this year as well, too. So we have to watch for that. We might feel like we just want to, like, do a million things, right? Publish our books and then go start a business and then go start another business and then go do this and do this and do that, right? That's the energy of the one in the horse. It's very, oh my God, I have all these things that I've been working on and I want to put them out into the world. So we also might feel a little bit scattered this year, but it's not going to be like a boring, stagnant year by any means. I think the numerology and the Chinese astrology of 2025 was stagnant in a lot of ways. It was more so about closing out the old, clearing the old cycles, clearing out anything that had to be looked at or healed or alchemized. And now we're coming into this energy where we can finally just push forward and get things going, right? And I'm really excited about it. So I feel good. I feel good about the numerology and the Chinese astrology of 2026. I really do. I've had a good feeling about 2026 for like years now. So 2026 is really about forward movement and momentum, and I'm really excited. So that's happening today. It's the Chinese New Year. You don't want to clean your house. You don't want to wash your hair. You don't want to clean your floors. You don't want to do laundry today. That was all supposed to be done yesterday and beforehand. Today is about bringing in energy. It's not about clearing out energy, right? Because in the Chinese New Year tradition, essentially a lot of our luck and prosperity is like in our hair, right? Or it's like we're supposed to have already swept that away beforehand, and now today is about bringing in. You can go shopping today, you can bring in good things today, but you're not supposed to clear things out on February 17th, the day of the Chinese New Year. And I've been talking to a lot of people who follow Chinese tradition for some reason. You know, I went to get a blowout for something I went to recently, and the woman happened to be Chinese, and she was talking to me about Chinese New Year. And then when I was at the nail salon, one of the women was half Chinese, so she was talking to me about Chinese New Year, and so they prepped me coming into this New Year. They were like, this is what you're supposed to do, and I was like, oh my God, I already do all those things. This is so cool. But I think Chinese astrology is so cool. So fascinating. I love it. I really do. I love all forms and all systems of numerology and astrology, but you guys know Vedic will always have my heart the most. Okay, so that was a little bit of the energy there. Try to just bring in energy, bring in prosperity today. Try not to be angry or sad or complain. Like, this is truly the start of a whole new year and a whole new chapter of the horse, and whatever energy happens today is really going to set that into motion as well too. So put out good things, think good thoughts, have positive energy, do good things today because it's really powerful. Now, the other thing is we have an eclipse today as well too. Yes, we do. So that's really fascinating to have the eclipse happening at the same time that the Chinese New Year begins, because an eclipse is all about faded revelations and we're clearing things out. So the way that I felt about it was, I felt like yesterday and this past week, so like prior to February 17th, right? I'm filming this February 17th, but prior, that was like a clearing week. That was all about clearing, releasing, letting go. It was heavy, it was dense, it was really reflective, it was introspective. And so today, on the day of the eclipse, we can feel like we really cleared a lot out coming up to today. And the energy of the eclipses are happening in Aquarius and Leo. So it's interesting. We've had this collective theme with Ketu and Leo, Rahu and Aquarius, where we're very fed up or disconnected from leadership. We're disconnected from the political leaders around the world. We're also very disconnected from excess of fame and wealth and people that are showing that off in the world with Ketu and Leo, right? Ketu is the disconnection point. Leo is a sign that is very much about like generational wealth and excess and fame and kings and leaders, etc., etc. So basically, this whole transit of Ketu and Leo, we've felt we don't want to see that, right? Have you noticed that as a collective, we're not really impressed, or we're not really wanting to see like these extreme shows of wealth anymore, right? If someone comes online and they're just like talking about like wealth and ego, Leo's ruled by the sun, it can be a little egoic in that way. If people are talking about those things, we don't want to see that. Like, we don't care about that. There's so much going on in the world. There's so much going on politically. That's Rahu and Aquarius. We're more drawn to humanitarian sort of pursuits. We're more drawn to organizations and groups that are outside of the political norms and leadership. The eclipse is even more highlighting that energy today. So we're really feeling that like push-pull dynamic between things have been done, which is Leo, that's kings and leadership and authority, and we're just like, things need to change. So I think today with the eclipse, there can be some revelations we feel in our own life or as a collective around themes of leadership and autonomy and independence and humanitarian and groups and organizations, and like where do we fall on which side of it? Because Rahu or Ketu can be very extreme in both directions. So the eclipse occurring is also given us a lot of revelations and realizations, I believe, this past week leading up to it, where whatever's been going on in our own life, or maybe we've been giving our power away, or maybe we haven't been stepping into autonomy or leadership in the right ways, we can be feeling a lot of that coming up to the surface as well too. And what I find is there's this eclipse portal. So when leading up to an eclipse, about I would say a few weeks before we start feeling the eclipse energy, we feel like we're realizing so many things. Things become clear. We're looking at things that happened thus far, and it's, oh, I see this more clearly, and what needs to shift or what needs to change. So it can be this kind of purging, clearing, sort of intense energy leading up to an eclipse time period. So today is the actual eclipse, and I think the way I'm viewing it is it's very much like we've gone through a clearing or purging leading up to it, and then today there can be some strong, powerful energy of like, okay, going forward, this is what I want, this is what I don't want, like that. Okay, so today's really, really powerful. It's a really powerful day. We can feel very activated. We can feel antsy. We can feel like we have a lot of energy. We can feel like we don't know where to put the energy, right? Like, does it want to go here? Does it want to go there? It can be a little bit scattered. We can also feel very intuitive, very psychic. I find that a lot with eclipse energy. There's a lot of like strong intuition, and we can feel very in touch with the mystical or the spiritual as well too. So this would be a great day to do any sort of like rituals or things that can bring in prosperity and abundance and good energy, good luck, good fortune today with the Chinese New Year. So you can go shop, you can set up a shrine of like Venus. That's what I did. I did a Venus shrine altar offering leading up to this energy, but you don't want to clear things out today. So try not to clean things, don't wash things. That's the main thing with Chinese astrology. And the eclipse is just going to show us even further revelations around autonomy and leadership and authority and how things have been done thus far in those realms and how we want to shift things going forward. And in our personal lives, again, I think there's a major theme of like, where have we been giving away our power, Ketu and Leo? Where have we not been stepping into roles of autonomy or leadership in the best ways that we can? You know, that's really important. And also, how can we disconnect more from like ego, and then Rahu and Aquarius go more towards these like humanitarian pursuits and collective pursuits, where it's like, okay, how do we help people going forward as a collective? Like Ketu and Leo is about being less individualistic, less self-focused, more focused on how can we all get to a better place. That's been a really huge theme, and we've seen that unfold politically. Okay, so that was the energy. I thought it was really important to talk about because today is like a really powerful day energetically. It's got a lot going on, so I wanted to talk about that. But now we're going to get into the fun part, which is going to be the analysis of Lana's chart and how we can see her husband Jeremy in the chart, because pretty funny, there's things that she's talked about in her music that we're going to see, and I'm really excited to get into this. I've been wanting to do this video for a while, so I'm gonna pull up her chart on the next screen and we're gonna get into her 7th house analysis. Alright guys, so here we have Lana's Vedic sidereal astrological chart, and my goodness, she has been, what I find really interesting about Lana is she's been in this Venus Dasha for most of her career. And I just think that's so fascinating because her Venus is with Rahu, so it's really heightened. And this whole Dasha period for her has been in her 7th house of the public and relationships and marriages. And she's had so many like almost marriages, and it's been all about love and art and beauty for her in this Venus Dasha. But it's also hit by Saturn as well too. So we also get that Saturnian influence. So she's also had criticism, not always getting the recognition she deserves, and also a lot of difficult experiences and lessons in her Venus Dasha as well too, because it's also hit by Saturn and next to Rahu. So I just think it's really interesting. She's going to shift her Dasha sequence in 2029 into her Sun Dasha, so that will be very interesting to leave her Venus, which she's been in for so long. Okay, but let us start the 7th house analysis of Lana's chart. So Lana has this very potent, very powerful Venus-Rahu conjunction in her 7th, right? And I've done more in-depth chart analysis videos on Lana, so if you guys want to watch just about her chart, go look at that, because the Venus-Rahu in the 7th of Aries has given her so much like beauty and art and romance and creativity in her life, but also she's had a lot of difficult experiences there as well too, right? It's that Rahu really heightens Venus. It's in Aries. Venus likes to be in Libra, so it's actually opposite of where it wants to be. And then it's also hit by Saturn in opposition. So her 7th house has some mixed things going on, right? It's not all good. It's not all bad. So she's going to get those mixed experiences. And Venus Rahu in the 7th gives like so much love and desire for all the themes of Venus, right? She wants to be creative. She wants to express herself. She wants to be beautiful, feel beautiful. She's one of the most beautiful women of our time, of course, Venus Rahu. Her earlier work was very much about, oh my God, take me to the Hamptons and diamonds and Americana. That's very Venus Rahu in the 7th house. So she has that really powerful, potent Venus Rahu in the 7th. So she would have strong desires in that 7th house. She would want marriage. It would be something that she really desires. She had all these like previous engagements that I believe did not work out, right? Rahu is also karmic. It can be something that comes in really quickly and really intensely, and we can also learn a lot of lessons there, and there can be elements of like trickery and deceit and addictions and obsessions when Venus is with Rahu in the 7th as well too. She has a lot of songs about dating these bad guys, these kind of addicty partners. Addictions, obsessions are all a part of her music in that 7th house as well too. So that's a really important part of her earlier music. But yeah, we're going to see, basically when we get mixed things in the 7th house, we're going to see them play out at different points, right? So Venus with Rahu, obsessions, addictions, desires there in that 7th house, and then also hit by Saturn in opposition. So there would be a potential delayed marriage, right? So marriage for Lana, because Saturn hits her 7th, would probably not come until later on in life, right? And she got married when she was either 38 or 39. So she was almost 40 when she got married, so that's kind of a delayed marriage, right? So Saturn aspects her 7th house of marriage, right? Saturn's on her 7th. She gets married later on in life. It's delayed. And Saturn is also older, mature, so she's always talked about dating older partners. She's always like the dad of it all, which I'm not condoning, okay, but I'm just talking about her experience in her music, right? So that Saturn influence on her 7th. Saturn is mature, it's older, right? So it will give her an older partner most likely. So Saturn on her 7th with Venus and Rahu there, okay? So her earlier experiences were very Venus Rahu, right? Like things were very quick and exciting and passionate, and then there was addictions and obsessions and cheating and overlaps, which I talked about with Venus in the 7th. There can be like intrigues, there can be someone is with someone and then someone else comes in, and things are there's a lot of energy there. And one of her songs that she did earlier, A&W, does talk a lot about that sort of experience, about more addictions and love, and how she was with someone when there was someone else, so there was like elements of cheating. It's all there, it's all in her music. That's very Venus Rahu in the 7th, right? So her early experiences were very Venus Rahu, right? Karma, quick obsessions, addictions, but also can be intrigues and overlaps, right, in the relationships as well too. Very karmic, very, very karmic. Okay, so those were the early experiences. Now, Saturn on the 7th. Okay, so when we go into analysis of Jeremy, Saturn influences her 7th house in opposition. So he's 10 years older than her, I believe. She's 40 now and he's like 50. So they have a 10-year age gap. Okay, so Saturn is on her 7th house. Saturn is older. Jeremy is 10 years older. Check. There's one aspect of Jeremy. Saturn is also someone who is very Saturnian. They can be grounded, they can be hardworking, they can be very committed. And what she said about him is he's very like protective, very committed, very grounded. He's very Saturnian in a lot of ways. Like I feel like if you see videos of them together, he's almost like a bodyguard. He's just kind of quiet and he's there, but he's like very grounded, very solid. Okay, so there's that Saturnian influence. Now, Venus Rahu in the 7th can give an unconventional partner, someone who's from a different sort of background, someone who's different culturally, someone who's very foreign. They're just different or unusual or unique. And what I find very interesting about this is Lana ended up with someone that no one expected her to end up with, right? He's very outside of her world. Like, she's this hugely famous, successful, rich musician, and then he's from Louisiana and he's from the Bayou and he works this really normal job, and they're very different. It's not even like culturally, it's more so that they come from different worlds, but also they have a similar essence because she's also down to earth. If you look at her chart, even though she's vastly successful and famous, she has K2 Saturn in her 1st house. Like, she's also very introspective. She's very normal. She's very Saturnian. I can guarantee you guys, there's such a part of Lana that is very just normal. She likes to be outside the spotlight, outside of the fame, all of that sort of stuff with her Saturn K2 in the 1st. And she's also very spiritual with Saturn K2 in the 1st house. So they come from these like vastly different seeming worlds. With Venus Rahu in the 7th, he's really different than what we would expect. He's unconventional than what we would expect. Strange. Venus Rahu can be strange. So, it's really interesting because even though they're not necessarily different in terms of he's from a different country culturally and has a completely different religion. I don't know much about his religion, but there's this aspect where they come from different worlds with Venus Rahu, right? It's just something unconventional, something strange, something different, something unexpected. But Venus Rahu can also give so much heightened like passion and intensity there as well too. So we see all those themes, all those elements that have played out, right? Rahu in the 7th, very different, very outside of her world, and it just works. Okay. So Venus Rahu in the 7th, hit by Saturn, later marriage, he's 10 years older. He's Saturnian, right? He's that quiet, grounded, stable Saturnian energy, okay? Venus Rahu, he's different culturally. It's unexpected. It happens very quickly. Oh my God, that's so important to bring into analysis. Venus Rahu happens very quickly. I think they got married after a month or something. That's the most Venus Rahu thing I've ever seen in my life, right? Because Rahu is like quick, obsessions, desires. Venus Rahu in the 7th house of marriage would be like a quick sort of marriage, happens very quickly. But aspected by Saturn later on in life. Okay, so her late 30s, she gets married, but it happens very quickly. Venus Rahu in the 7th. All right. There's already all these aspects of Jeremy. Okay, now let's go into the 7th ruler. So her 7th house is Aries, which is ruled by Mars. Okay, so her 7th ruler is Mars. Now, Mars in general is the energy of someone who can work in more Mars-like fields, right? So if we think about what he does, he's like on this boat and he's like capturing these alligators and he's in these kind of intense scenarios. That's very Mars, right? It's almost this like warrior sort of capturing energy, which is really interesting, more rugged, right? And then it's really close to the Sun and Mercury. So her 7th ruler is in the 9th house. Now, when 7th ruler goes into the 9th house is actually the house of luck and fortune. So 7th ruler is in the 9th. One of the lyrics in her songs that's called Stars Fell on Alabama or something, she says, how did I get so lucky? She goes, how did I get so lucky? Okay, 7th ruler is in the 9th house of luck and fortune. Guys, quite literally, verbatim, right? She goes, how did I get so lucky? Her 7th house is ruled by the house of luck, and she gets the partner she wants because it's the 9th house of luck and fortune, right? Now, the 9th house is travels. It's when you're traveling somewhere, and she met Jeremy when she was on a trip to the swamp, to the bayou, which I love so much. I think it's so cute. So 7th ruler is in the 9th. She got lucky. They met on travel. She was on a trip at the time. And the 9th house is also father, sort of energy, guide, teacher. So she can feel at times like, you know, maybe Jeremy is a bit of like a father or someone who guides her in this lifetime. And in her recent song, she says something about dad or daddy. So 7th ruler is in the 9th house. There can be this energy that feels like a little bit father-like, or like he guides her as well. And then another meaning of the 9th house is spirituality and philosophy and religion. So again, I don't know anything about Jeremy's like philosophical religious beliefs, but with 7th ruler in the 9th, usually they have some, like usually the partner has some connection to their own sense of religion or God or spirituality or whatever it is. Again, I'm not going to speak for him, but he might have some prominent belief system that they can talk about and align over as well too. Like they can have some spiritual or philosophical conversations. Okay. So check. They met while she was on a trip. She talks about feeling lucky, and 7th ruler is in the 9th house of luck and fortune. Now, 7th ruler is also close to the sun, and her Darakaraka, or her spouse indicator, is also the sun. So she likes partners that lead. She likes partners that are dominant. She likes partners that are more solar in their energy, right? Very masculine. The sun is traditional masculinity. And I think Jeremy is like one of the most traditional masculine men that I've seen in a while. And that's why Lana loves him, right? Because he's very traditional masculine. And I think in this day and age, that's a very rare quality to see, to each their own. But my Darakaraka is the sun. When I see someone who's very traditionally masculine, I'm like, hi, you know what I mean? Because it's very rare. And so she's drawn to very traditional masculine energy, right? Her Darakaraka is the sun. Her 7th ruler is near the sun. So Jeremy is very much like confident, masculine. He's lived on this bayou. He's from Louisiana. He runs his own business. He takes care of business, you know what I mean? Like when you see him, he's just so traditionally masculine. That's the sun. The sun is that very old school, traditional, masculine energy where someone takes lead, they take control, they take charge. That's the sun. So she likes that. She loves that. We've seen that in her music over and over again. And I can really relate with her on that as well too, because my Darakaraka is the sun as well too. So 7th ruler is near the sun. She wants someone who's a leader, someone who can be a little bossy. She likes a little bit of the bossy energy. She likes a man who can like tell her what to do a little bit. That's just what it is. 7th ruler is close to the sun. Darakaraka sun. I'm telling y'all, we've seen it in her music, and Jeremy seems that way. Not that he tells her what to do, but he seems like he would be very in that traditional role as well. Okay, so check. He also runs his own business, right? And the sun is like business, entrepreneur, someone who's a leader in their field. So he does his own thing, right? That's also the sun. Now, 7th ruler in the 9th house near the sun. Darakaraka is the sun. Again, Darakaraka is in the 9th house. Meets someone through travels and someone who's a little bit different culturally. And even though he's not from a different country necessarily, again, they're from different worlds in a lot of ways, right? She comes from this world of Hollywood and success and fame and money and blah, blah, blah. He comes from this world of living in a small town. And then she brings him into his world, right? 7th ruler in the 9th, there's like a different sort of aspects culturally or where they live, distance, themes like that as well too. Okay. So check. And if we look at 7th from the moon or Chandra Lagna, her moon is in the 10th house of Cancer. 7th from the moon is Jupiter. So again, she talks about how lucky she feels to have found him, to have got this like really amazing husband who's just so masculine and does everything, seems really grounded, really great. And I told y'all in that video, Jupiter 7th from the moon, they find the person that they want. Like when they want something or they want someone, they can get it because Jupiter is that planet of luck and blessings as well too. So Jupiter 7th from the moon, verbatim. Her lyrics are like, how did I get so lucky? You're all my favorite things. That's 7th ruler, the 9th house of luck. And then Jupiter, the planet of luck and blessing, 7th from the moon as well too. Gets the partner she's always wanted, right? But then Saturn influences the 7th, so she has to wait until later on in life to get that person, right? Late 30s, but she gets all the things that she's wanted because she has Jupiter 7th from her moon. So really, really cool to see that. And yeah, we can see how she manifested. I mean, this is my belief on it. I feel like all of her music is alluding to who he is. Like the things that she talks about feels like exactly who he is. So that's Jupiter 7th from the moon. They get what they want in the married life as well too. Okay, and Venus is in her 7th in her D1. Venus is in her 7th in her D9. And she has a really strong Venus in Libra in her D9. So, you know, positive energy in the 7th of marriage. And this would also show Dasha-wise, there's a high probability of marriage in the Venus Dasha because Venus is in the 7th of marriage in the D1. Venus is in the 7th of marriage in the D9. And she got married in her Venus Dasha, right? Because it activates those marriage houses. But because Saturn influences, again, she has to wait until a little bit later on. Actually, I think she was in her Venus-Saturn Dasha when let's see, that'd be 5 years ago. Yes. Okay, she was in her Venus-Saturn Dasha, which Venus is in her 7th of marriage, Saturn's in her 1st, so they directly oppose each other 7 houses away, which activates the 7th house of marriage. And then that's spot on, right? Venus in the 7th, Saturn in the 1st brings the 7th house of marriage to her in the 1st house. And then Saturn to Venus is like 7 houses away, which activates the marriage as well too. Okay. All right, so there's Jeremy, right? She got someone who was strange, unconventional, comes from a different world from her somewhat. She got the person she wants with 7th ruler in the 9th house. They met on travels near the sun. She got someone very masculine, very traditionally masculine. It's right there, right? And Saturn, he's older, he's 10 years older. She had to wait for it to happen, but she got all the luck and blessings because of Jupiter 7th from the moon, 7th ruler in the 9th house. And it'll be interesting to see because she's starting her sun Dasha and the sun is her Darakaraka. So that's going to be a time where she's very focused on the Darakaraka, right? Which is the spouse indicator. So that's all about the Darakaraka, the spouse. So very fascinating. Very interesting to see how Jeremy shows up. And the reason I thought this would be fun to film today is because she came out with a really like cool, spooky song about him. And I just think it's so funny because he's the last person we would expect, but it's also the most perfect person, right? Because she needs that grounded, very masculine sort of energy where he's going to lead, he's going to protect, he's going to take care of business, right? Like, I just get the vibe that Jeremy stands on business. That's how I feel about it. So I really love that. And I love the new song. Very witchy. Lana is very witchy. Her chart is very mystical with that Saturn K2 in the 1st house and all the energy in her 9th house. Her Jupiter moon opposition, she's very philosophical by nature. I mean, she studied metaphysics in college. She has a very sort of spiritual, witchy, philosophical chart as well too. All right, so I thought that would be a really fun analysis, and I really like Jeremy. I really do. I really, really do. I really get it. I think in this day and age, I'm going on another tangent. My Jupiter's going on another tangent. I think in this day and age, when you see like true traditional masculine energy, oh my God, it's so rare that when you see it, it's like, I love it, you know what I mean? So I'm really happy for Lana, and we can really see Jeremy written in the chart, and yeah, I'm really excited to see what further sort of music she creates going forward. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this chart analysis. Let me know if there's anything you guys pick up in the chart about Jeremy, about her 7th house analysis, and yeah. I hope you guys have such a beautiful, blessed day of the eclipse and the first day of the Chinese New Year, the horse year. Oh my goodness, I feel like I've been waiting so long for us to enter this horse year. I'm really happy about it. And don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe for so much more content coming soon. I'm also going to work on my membership tiers at some point this week, I promise I'm getting around to it because I really want to make them just like what y'all would want. So maybe comment some ideas down below. Like, do you guys mostly want to learn Vedic astrology? Do you want me to do a lot of like celebrity videos in the memberships? Let me know about that. And I hope you guys have such a beautiful, blessed day. And we'll talk soon. Bye, guys.